What's going on? This is Shamus with the Educate to Elevate podcast. Once again, coming to my community. You know that I only bring people that add value. That's the best at what they do. Today, we got my brother from another mother, and you'll find out what we really mean by that. Kash Money Mike. What's going on, Kash Money?
Shane, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me on this podcast. I honestly, out of like all of the podcasts I've ever done, this is like the one that I was waiting to get on, man. I'm excited that you're having me on. I appreciate
Yes,
you.
sir.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, what I like to do to start off, I like to tell our listeners, because like we was talking previously, everybody sees where we're at. Okay, we're making money off of real estate, but that's not where they started at. They started where we started at, and we got through the process. So let's start by telling everybody how you grew up, where you grew up at, your environment and everything, because I know your story because it's similar. And let's start off by talking about like where you grew up, where you was born at, and the type of environment you grew up in.
Yeah, so I grew up. I just turned 49 years old. I grew up in a very small county, one of the smallest counties in New York State that you're familiar with. It's called Rockland County. I grew up in a place called Nyack, which is a little river town right on the banks of the Hudson River, about 35, 40 minutes north of New York City. My dad was in the flooring business for a long time, worked with his back, didn't really work with his head. I'm the oldest of four. I've got a younger brother. I've got two younger sisters. We're all 2 years apart. And I'm probably the most misunderstood inside the family of anybody. My brother took a different path. He kind of followed in the footsteps of my dad. My sisters both have college degrees. I'm the guy that right after high school, I up and left, headed west out to California to go try my hand in theater, believe it or not.
I did theater. Okay.
Yep, tried my hand in theater. I went out. I went out to California for a little while. I came on back. I got accepted into Marymount Manhattan College on 71st Street.
Okay.
I studied theater there. I wound up doing a bunch of off-Broadway shows and plays and stuff. I was doing real well, getting cast. And then ultimately, what kind of happened there is the way you look changes, right? Like all these auditions I was going on, I had all these blonde-haired, blue-eyed guys, with me, and sometimes one guy would get a part, and another guy would get a part on another shot. So from there, I just I was bouncing around trying to find my way, and my dad actually, maybe about halfway through his career, started buying up some real estate. And he was bringing me by some of these properties. He had some places that you might know, like out in Piermont, right on the water.
Out of Piermont.
Beautiful, beautiful areas. And he would bring me by all these places. And I've always grown up around the construction because he was in the flooring, so I knew how to fix stuff and all this stuff. And there was a point in time where my dad was in the stock market when the stock market was real good, and he had lost some money. And at that point, he started selling off these properties. And I remember turning to my mom and going, "Why is Dad so impatient? Like, let him just hold on to these properties. Why are we selling the properties? Like, you've got properties right on the river and this, that, and the other thing." And from that point on, I was kind of like, my mind started going when it came to real estate. I mean, it was just, I was kind of hooked. Like, I started looking at real estate when I was driving around alone. I felt like a little bit of a freak because nobody at my age was doing that. I was driving around looking for stuff, looking for beat up properties, looking for things that I could kind of add value to. And that's kind of where I started to get, really involved in trying to understand real estate at a very, very high level early. I had a bar, believe it or not, in Nyack that I had opened up, and we opened up to a fantastic opening in this place. We were doing real well. It was me and my wife. I've been with my wife since I'm 14 years old.
Same.
Yeah.
14 years old.
Yeah.
Same.
I met my wife in middle school at Felix Festa. I met my wife in middle school. We had been together the whole time. We opened up this bar. We were doing real well, like making a lot of cash, but we were young. We were dumb. We didn't really save a lot of this money. And ultimately, I wound up losing my lease, and I was at a crossroads where I had about $7,000 left to my name. And there was a woman out of Sacramento, California. Her name was Alexis McGee, and she owned a domain name called foreclosures.com. And it was 2000 and I don't know, maybe 3 or 4, something like that. And I had turned to my wife and I go, I'm going to Sacramento. And she's like, for what? And I said, I don't know. There's just something about this woman. I want to go out there and study with her. And she's like, we only have $7,000 and this thing is $6,000. And I go, I'm going. And I took that money, ran out to Sacramento, learned subject to, thought I understood what I learned, ran all the way back to New York, only to realize that New York was a mortgage state and California was a deed of trust state. And everything I had learned had gotten jumbled in the mix. And I was like, oh my God, like maybe I shouldn't have done that. So that's where I started to just really start to kind of educate myself and move my way into real estate.
That's a great story. It's funny when you say about the 7,000. The first event I went to for wholesaling was Freedom, which was Carlos, Sal, and Alex and them. And I literally spent my next month rent money, food, everything. And we just came out of foreclosure. Any same person was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, but I have to go to this place. I have to go there. And what I wind up doing, that's where I met Sal and Carlos and Alex and a lot of the industry leaders that are now allies of mine, and we do stuff together. That's where I met them at. But what it just opened me up to how big you really can get in real estate. Not only owning real estate, but a brand and things like that. Look at I'm doing something, I'll tell you, but next month I'm doing something with Gary Vee. Gary Vee charges $155,000 for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Just give me one of those a month. Just give me one of those a month. You know what I'm saying? I'm good right there.
Yep.
But I remember being at the counter and asking a lady, like, hey, do you have any AAA discounts or military discounts to get something off the room? I didn't want to drive the car because I barely had gas money. So I ate right around the hotel. And then I remember when I was getting in the room, you know, when you're at the crossroads, you always hear crazy stuff. And you know, I say you got the devil on one shoulder and God on the other. The devil saying, hey, that was a stupid move. God is saying that's the path. Go. So when you got that gut feeling, We all, I mean, your wife been with you for 35 years. My wife been with me for 35 years, and they done seen all the dumbass ideas that we came up with, went down, came up, and everything, and they understand us, right? So I say that to say the only way you get to where you're supposed to be is by taking risk.
Man, I love that because my old man, I remember I was like 14. He's like, get the hell out of the house. And I was like, where am I going to go? He's like, just go find a job. And I was like, I don't really know what the hell I'm doing. And I remember I went to all like these pizza places and I was applying for these jobs and I was going to sling some dough and make some pizza. And it was really him pushing me out of the house early on in my life that kind of made me the fighter that I think I became later on in life when these curveballs were kind of thrown my way, because nobody in this life can get away from the curveball. It's coming. Nobody. Right. And you got to be prepared to get into that box and swing that bat if you're going to hit that ball. And the only way you get there is by having your back against the wall. Like I had my back against the wall, you had your back against the wall. You got to fight your way out of it and take risk. And when you take risk, the greatest rewards are on the other side of the risk that you don't perceive to be.
Exactly. And you may take a risk and you're taking risks, you're not getting to where you want to go. But when that one takes off, it's a wrap. You know, like I have friends that were in industries and they would work for years and years. Like a buddy of mine, he was on my podcast, Arnold Taylor.
Mm.
He worked he worked for Sony, for Epic. He promoted like DJ Khaled and Future. He blew all of them up, right? And it wasn't until about 4 years ago where when he finally got his name out, he dropped The Baby. That's his artist, is The Baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it just took him off. Made man now. And I always tell him, I said, I'm proud of you. You stuck in it for 25 years to become that made man.
Yeah.
And you know, they say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. Like people see it. Somebody said, oh man, I see you everywhere. You're blowing up and everything. I'm like, bro, I've been trying to do real estate for a decade. Like, It ain't like I just picked up a course yesterday. Yo, I'm locking up 15 deals. It's the time that you spend in it. And I learned, because I'll explain this, I learned to enjoy the process. Because when I get there, I'm not interested no more. I'm not interested no more. I don't care how much money is there. I closed down 7-figure companies because I don't want to be here no more.
I'm with you,
right?
Man.
And that's dangerous because the worst thing that can happen to an individual is if you set these goals, say you got career goals, you got financial goals, and you get there and you feel unfulfilled. I've been there. To be honest, I'm almost back there because money doesn't fascinate me no more. So now I've been digging into what I need. I started last week. I started my discipleship in church because I think my God-given talent is to talk to kids that come from where we come from, that think that there's no way to get out. So that's the path. That's what's going to keep me going and going and going. Because when you're younger and you got newborn kids, it's like, oh, the kids, you got to take care of the kids. But when they're all grown and out the house, it's like it's only me now. Like, what do I do now? You know, there's always levels. Talk about like some of the peaks of your career. Like when you got there, was it everything you thought it would be? Or did you look back and be like, damn, this ain't really what I thought it would be like? What do you?
That's a very special mind shift and a very special mindset to kind of resonate in to where you are, where you're saying, hey, money doesn't really move me anymore. It's the process. My process hasn't always been that way. I think early on when you're kind of young and you're thinking about maybe making a move into something, you know, you're focused on the money.
Money, 100%.
And then when you're chasing the money runs away. It's very, very difficult. It's almost like it like eludes you in a way. But if you fall in love with the process, to your point, and you learn to live and simmer in that process and learn to master that process, that's when guys like Gary Vee go up and charge $145,000 for an hour because they understand the process, right? So I've had so many ups and so many downs and I've had them very close to each other too, which
me too.
Which makes it even worse.
But like you didn't learn from the last one. Right.
It's so close that it's like, oh my God, and you know, what should I be feeling? Because you're a young entrepreneur. We all have young families at the time. You're trying to make ends meet. You got 4-6 eyes looking at you going, feed me every morning. You don't know where your next dime is coming from. I want to kind of segue back because two of the it's funny. I just said, they're very close to each other sometimes. When I had gone out to Sacramento and I took that foreclosures.com class, she was actually from Long Island. So I think maybe that's why I kind of resonated with her. She was from New York, went out there, came back to New York and realized I didn't understand anything that I had learned. But I was such a good student in that class, Shamus, that there was a reporter from the Wall Street Journal that was going to do an article on one of her students, and she recommended me. So imagine spending your last $6,000 to go out to Sacramento, to learn something, to come back to New York, not understand it. And now she's putting me in front of a reporter from the Wall Street Journal. And the guy's going to fly in from Pittsburgh and he's going to do this thing. And I go, holy shit, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? So I'm at the lowest low. And now all of a sudden I got this opportunity with a high. And I'm like, I keep telling my mom, I go, Mom, I don't know what's going to happen here, but they told me my whole life, try not to believe everything you read. And I don't know if this guy's going to do an article on me or not. Long story short, this guy flies in from Pittsburgh and I take him around Rockland County and I bring him around and I show him houses that I'm working on and all this stuff. And I pull up a picture of my pit bull on my computer and, I'm going through the whole thing. And, I wasn't 100% truthful inside.
Hey.
I wasn't 100% truthful inside of this interview with this guy and never knowing where it was going to go. The thing ended, and 2 weeks later, I'm on the front page of the Wall Street Journal with my head in that thumbprint saying, foreclosure market opens, and I'm on the front cover of it. Not like inside. I'm on the most nationally recognized newspaper for business in the world. And here's your boy who don't know what he's doing. So when you're going through stuff like that, it's really trying to find opportunities inside your process to kind of help you grow. But I mean, I've had so many ups and downs, man. A lot of the best mentors I've ever had in my life have been attorneys, the IRS,
Thanks.
Title companies, things like that. So I've had a lot of them. I've done some suing. I've had some suing be done to me. It's been a wild ride, but again, you don't get 20 years of road behind you without actually walking the road, loving the process.
Exactly. And that's similar to when we had put my first record out. Put the record out, got a big producer, Ski, that did Reasonable Doubt, all Jay-Z stuff. That's how I knew Jay and stuff like that. Started pushing the records and everything. Record got on Billboard. Record got on, Funk Master Flex was playing it and everything. But my lights in my house was cut off.
It's crazy.
And I go outside, like, yo, there goes Shamus. I'm like, bro, I just need my lights on. It's so emotional. Mm-hmm. It's like, you stick your head out, you get punched in the face, you go back, your eye goes down, you stick it out again. It's just like, it's such an emotional roller coaster, and then you have that ambition in you that's just waiting to push over the top. Yeah. And that's how I feel. My wife gets mad when I say it. I said, I don't feel like I accomplished nothing. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, just because I see where I should be and where he wants me, and I'm nowhere near there. And that's hard. It's hard because the ambition is what pushes you every single day. It's the competitive, it's ambition. And then you have to mix that with being a father, being a husband, being a friend, being a leader, and things like that. And it's hard. She always gets mad at me. She's like, I can't believe you said you didn't accomplish nothing in your life. I said, the best thing I accomplished in my life was my family, which is the most important. Mm-hmm. So I'm thankful. And I think that's why now God is starting to open up more doors, because I realized that I did have everything I needed.
I just had the exact same conversation with Stacy yesterday. I said the exact same thing, 49 years old, saying, I don't really feel like I'm at where I'm, where I'm supposed to be at. And she's like, you've done so much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't get it. Like I'm on a path, because I can feel it. And I know you can feel it too. Mm-hmm. And not everybody gets to feel this. And not everybody gets to experience it either. Only a few get to feel what I'm feeling and what you're feeling, which is you've got more than enough time.
Yeah.
He's given you everything that you've asked for.
Everything.
His time. On his time. And when he says it's time, it's time. And that's the way I feel. And that's, I feel like that every single day, Shamus. Every day.
Yeah. And it's funny, because I always come in New Year in church. I'm like, I'm starting my year off in the house of God. Mm-hmm. And several times I've been there and I heard God say, I want you to start your discipleship. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll start it. But when I heard it this last New Year's, I went right over and I told my deacon, I said, hey, I want to be more involved with the church because what I feel, I heard David Goggins say this, and this, I was like, that's it. He says, you get up to heaven, you get in front of God, and you tell God, hey, I've been a good father, I've been a good husband, a good person. Did I do good? And he says, you did good, but I wanted you to do great. You didn't do great. I wanted you to lead a nation, and you didn't. You didn't live up to your potential. So like right now, it's like, I think that my way to reach people and to get that feeling through for God is by impacting millions of people. That maybe one sentence, one word, or somebody listening to our podcast that's like that was in the same position you was in, spent their last 6,000, and that I'm hearing you turn their life back around. Because I get DMs and everything. Hey man, I watch your videos. I tried this. This changed my life. That's what I get joy from, fulfillment.
Helping.
Is seeing somebody, you got somebody new and you help them and you see them get their first check or whatever, and they get proof of concept, you know? But it's crazy to, especially because how we grew up. We grew up as hustlers, literally.
Yeah.
You know, same 14, you got your father told you to get out of the house at 14. I got kicked out of 7th grade with a firearm at 14.
Right.
And they was like, you either go to Spofford, Juvenile Detention Center, or you have to leave out of New York City. And my sister lived in Rockland County. So she took me up there. And that was what was transformational for me, because I seen two parents. There's two, because it's supposed to be two parents in the house. In my house, it was always one, my mom, right? Two parents. It's a house. It's not projects. I go to school, there's white kids, Indian kids. In the Bronx, if we see white people, besides my mother, it was BCW to take your kid to the police. I'm like, now I'm in a school, I'm like, damn, Indian, I got white friends, Indian friends. And that's really what changed my mindset right there. So when somebody says you're a product of your environment, 7th grade, firearm, 14, shooting at people, all type of crazy stuff, and just moving to Rockland County with my sister, showing me something different. It changed my mindset and I went on a different route, and that's what I wanted for my family. So when you talk about fulfilling and having that conversation, what do you think right now is one of the pivotal things that you need to do to stay on that path? Because we could come off the path. We could be on the path and then we detour and then we're like, yo, where'd everybody go? It's gone. You missed the train.
The more I give, the more I get.
Amen.
The more I give, the more I get. And I am focused solely on giving as much as I possibly can.
I know you are, because I'll be looking at the lives. I'm like, 4 hours? Jesus. And I don't know nobody else is doing that. They hop on live quick. And I'm not even going to lie. Some of the stuff that you're doing, I'm like, I got to pick his brain because that's what I want to do. I just want to give value. I want to give value. And, I just think that it's really, really important to be a go-giver.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing, is to always, like today I was on my photo shoot. I'm doing a photo shoot and I had like a sweater and a jacket. And it was this homeless guy. He's like, hey, do you have, can you lend me a couple of dollars to get some coffee and everything? I'm like, man, I don't got no money in my pocket. And then he see me pick up my jacket and I had 2 hats. I had like a Yankee hat and a hat like this. But on my head, I had a gray hat, Scully. And he's like, man, can I get one of those hats? And I'm like, I can't give you one of those hats. I said, are you cold? He said, yes. I just took the Scully off my head and I gave it to him. And he was like, oh, thank you so much. And I do that all the time. Yeah. Pull up at places. I'll be in the store and somebody's short, their card don't go through. I'm like, I got it. Don't worry about it. But I do that stuff in silence because the Bible says deliver that in silence. Now, the teaching and everything is something different, right? But I think that the more you give, like you said, the more you get. And then that brings you closer to God, because the best business principles come from the Bible. Serve his children. Yeah. That's it. So the more services you provide, the more he favors you. Like, oh, Cash Money's out here changing people's lives. I'm gonna keep blessing them and blessing them and blessing them. Because for everybody that's look at me, like I just met you, what, about
6 months?
6 months ago?
Yeah.
And you came in the game and like, you know how you see a ladder of people? I just see you. I'm like, damn, Mike is out. He's out of here.
Like Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yo, he's out of here. So, and it's what's good about it is real recognizes real. All of the industry leaders, they love you. Every time we talk about, oh, Cash Money's the best. He's the best.
Yeah.
And I love my industry. I love our industry. I love the people that I'm involved with. We're on the same mindset, same time, and we're all trying to go in the same direction.
Man, I kind of reckon this community. I want to make one other point. I don't even worry about, so like the more I give, the more I get. I forget about the get.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I start thinking about that or worrying about that, which I haven't worried about in forever, like it kind of keeps me there, and that's not in a stage of growth. The real growth comes when you're giving.
Yep.
So when I'm able to do 4-hour lives, I don't even feel like they're 4-hour lives at all. I could stand there for 8 hours and keep pouring and not feel anything until the end of it, where my legs are like shaking. But other than that,
yeah.
I'm feeling good, But
Yeah.
this community, Shamus, is like I kind of compare this to like the land of misfit toys. You ever see like Frosty or Rudolph? We had all these toys that nobody wanted. Nobody wants a Charlie in the box, right?
Yeah.
They're all misunderstood. They're all misunderstood. They're all hustlers. They're all entrepreneurs. Sometimes they're the black sheep of the family. A lot of people have addiction and, addiction problems or personal problems or family, whatever. But nobody in this life gets out, clean without, again, some kind of curveball. But that's what I love about this community is that everybody is so willing to help everybody. And I never really had a sense of community. Like if you asked me to go sponsor the Christmas parade in my hometown, I tell you, get the hell out of here. But but with this real estate community, man, because it's real life stuff. You could really change your life with this stuff, And when you've got a bunch of miles behind you that you can give to people for nothing, why not give it to them? I mean, I've changed a bunch of lives in this industry. You've changed a bunch of lives in this industry, and we're just getting started. So
yeah, really just getting started.
Like really just getting started.
So when you came into real estate, what made you stay on the path of creative finance?
Wasn't always creative finance. I started in real estate. I wound up with a broker's license for a little while up in New York. I thought I wanted to sell houses until I walked into somebody's house and said, man, I can't stand talking about kitchens and bathrooms and all this. I said, this isn't for me. I wanted to go more of the traditional route. I think the real pivotal moment is when I understood the money game. It wasn't so much real estate. Real estate's the vehicle. But if you understand the money game and how that money moves around inside this economy, that's where I had a real light bulb moment where I could take the strategy that I understood, which is seller finance, creative real estate, and apply it to the big money game. So I started out flipping houses. I was buying condos. I was rehabbing houses. I was buying up pieces, not doing anything to them and just flipping them. And then ultimately, I'm an old Carlton Sheets guy. I mean, I'm going to put a date on me here, right? We were sitting down and it's like,
he was the GOAT. Carlton was the GOAT.
Carlton and like Girls Gone Wild on Cablevision at night. Watching the late night stuff. And I just never really understood zero money down, how to buy properties like that until I just started getting more and more educated. And then when I did it kind of smacked me in the back of the head. I was like, oh man, I understand the math. And because I understood the math, I remember grabbing Stacy and going, "Follow me." And I grabbed my marker and on a whiteboard like this, I'm like, look at what we can do. Look at what we can do. And if we say it like this, we're going to get this. And I go, and I specifically remember turning to her and go, I got something special here that not a lot of people are going to understand. I want to teach it. I want to teach it because I've always been a teacher, believe it or not. I've coached a lot of like teams. I'm a good
Mhm.
coach.
Yeah.
All the kids in the softball, field wanted to play on my team. All of the parents wanted their kids to play on my team. And not to pat myself on the back, but I had a very different way of coaching.
Yeah.
And what I've done is I've taken what I love to do, which is real estate, and kind of marry the two together and coach it the way I would coach an 8U softball team in crayon
Gotcha.
language, right? In crayon language to
Mhm.
say, hey, listen, this is how simple this is. So that's the real pivotal moment for me is creative real estate hasn't always been creative real estate. I've been with creative real estate maybe 8 years, 8 to 10 years, something like that. I've always kind of learning about it, but there wasn't, I don't know, a specific like a specific date where I was like, oh my God. But when that happened, I knew I had something special because I understand the math pretty good.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm just starting now to get into like insurance policies that you borrow against and things like that. So I'm studying all of that stuff now because, like I said, it's been a couple of times I've been up, I've been down, and it's funny. I was talking to Tanya Oliver because she's one of my coaches, and I told her, I said, I set goals, then I get there, and I don't want to do them no more, and I let everything crash down. And she said that's actually a disease. It's almost like a disease because I'm always the one that if I play on a team, you don't got to put me in until the last until the last 5 seconds when we need one basket and let me clutch it because everybody's going to remember that last shot. Shamus took the shot that won the championship. They're not going to say, well, he only played 20 seconds. He took the championship shot,
Mhm.
right? So with me, I get to those positions and I let it just all crumble just to put myself back against the wall to fight and come out again. And she was like, that's dangerous. She said, so I have to show you how to balance it out. Because that was me. Record company, let it all go up. Well, with the uniform company in 2016, we did $1 million with a 60% profit margin. And I closed the company down that year because I didn't want to do it no more.
Seamus, I get it, brother.
And we lost everything.
Yep.
And everybody's like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, I just don't want to do it. Talk about that. Talk about like what pushes you and having your back against the wall. To me, that opens up a new beast. It's like, okay, hat turned back, Glock cocked. Who comes through that door? You get shot. You know what I'm saying? That's me. So what pushes you and where do you have to take yourself to like catapult to the next level, if that makes sense?
I had that same disease. I get bored.
Exactly.
I get bored.
Mhm.
I don't care how much money I'm making. And I've done this in the past too with other businesses. They're like, are you crazy? You're making all this money. I'm like, I don't care. It's not something I want to do. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know, looking back now, like if that's I know now, but then I didn't know that it's a signal from God telling you, hey, listen, I got bigger plans for you. You're
Amen.
gonna do much bigger things in your life.
Yep.
But people would look at me like I'm a little bit crazy too. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. The thing about the back against the wall is that, inside this space, but even inside like other industries, people don't really get it. Like you have to be put under pressure
Mhm.
in order to see who you are, what you're made of for yourself, not even for somebody else. Like I could care less what anybody thinks about me, right? I
Mhm.
know who I am. I know where I come from. To your point, the most important thing in my life is my family. They know who I am, which is the most important thing. But if your back is not against the wall, and it's funny, you don't have to come, even though you came from a background where it was just one person in the household. I came from a background where it was two people in the household. I was kind of middle class. We were making money, but my father wasn't that smart. And you came from a different side of the coin. Here, you and I are on the exact same path.
Same path.
On the exact same path. So I just feel like the Lord picks certain people to experience certain things and feel certain things and everything else. When I think about pressure, and putting myself under pressure, I've gotten real comfortable living under pressure.
Yeah.
I live there.
Yeah,
whether I'm doing good or I'm doing bad. I don't even think about that. I just live there and I reside there. Not many people can reside inside that space and not lose their mind.
Yeah.
It takes a very special person to live in that spot
and still move.
and still move
the needle.
forward. And still move forward without any concept of time. Like, I don't have any concept of time. People are like, a couple of things I don't see. I don't see color. Like, I love everybody for everybody. I have no concept of time at all. I don't think it's too early. I don't think it's too late. I think I'm right on time.
Thanks.
But other people look at me and go, man, you're 50 years old. What are you doing? I go, what are you doing? I know exactly what I'm doing. So I just think not many people get to experience what I experience, what you experience, and that's the reason why you and I are the educators. And certain people are meant to be the students, but you got to have some pressure in this life. And it just turned out that my old man was a real hard ass with me. I mean, a hard ass with me. I was the first boy. You know, the goal is that he does better than his father and that I do better than him and my sons do better than me. Right?
Yeah.
We're not perfect. We only know what we know. But I even with my own sons, I got a 16 and 17-year-old now, putting pressure on them, going, hey, listen, this isn't going to feel like the right thing to do right now. And you're going to be squirming around uncomfortable, but you're going to go out there and you're going to do it like this, because if you don't do it like this, you'll never understand it. You got to make your own way. You got to work for what you want, and you got to be able to handle pressure.
Yeah, I had the same conversation with my 19-year-old. I told him this year, like, he starts paying rent. I'm like, yo, you got to pay $500 a month. He's like, Dad, that's a lot. I said, go out there and figure out how much it is to live on your own. And then he came back. He was like, okay. I said, that's your food. You drive, your food, your rent. Anybody, can I live with anybody for $500? I'll come and live with you right now if I could live for $500 a month. Yep. You know what I'm saying? But he's starting to understand it now. Like, my oldest son, he sees everything now. It was at 25, 26 years. He's like, Dad, thank you for all the things that you did, because that built the person I am. And I tell my son, he has stripes on his arm, because I don't think I ever told you this, but our oldest son, he did like 3.5 years in prison for armed robbery.
Oh, wow.
And that was the hardest thing as a man, as a father, that I had to ever deal with, is watching my son, that I know is not a bad person, through that window, right? Through that window.
Yeah.
And he survived it. I had to speak to him every single day on the phone. Every Saturday, we would drive 4 hours to see him for 30 minutes and then come back. Every Saturday, I needed to see my son. Every Saturday, I needed to talk to him. And he came out on a straight and narrow. He lives down in Florida, got his girlfriend. He works, he's a DJ and stuff like that. But he had to go through that. I kept having dreams of identifying him in the morgue for 6 months.
Yeah. And
I kept telling my wife, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, why? But in the dreams, I kept hearing God say, don't give up on him. And I'm like, what is this? Right? When he called me, first of all, he was at our house on a Saturday. And I told him, I see he's posting pictures on Instagram. And I'm like, man, you need to go get some white friends. He starts laughing. I'm like, bro, I'm serious, man. I was like, I see all of that you posting on Instagram and stuff like that. I said, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get yourself locked up. And those kids you with, they're not built like that. That was Saturday. Monday, I get a phone call. Dad, I'm in jail. For what? For armed robbery. And you know what's the first thing he said? He said, don't give up on me. I was like, this is what God was talking about.
Yeah.
This is the situation that he prepped us for.
Mm.
It was right here.
Mm.
And I remember once he got, because they didn't give him no bail and no nothing. He was the gunman. It was his firearm, his car, everything. So I was sitting in the bathroom one day crying. For 6 months straight, I would cry every day. I'll be in my store in the middle of the day because I felt like all the shit that I did, he got hit for it. He got hit when I should have been under the jail, right? But he does one stupid thing and he gets caught. And I remember hearing God say he's going to get, because I told God, don't let him out until he's ready. And God said he's going to do 5 years. And I came out to my wife, they're going to give him 5 years. She's like, how do you know? I said, that's just what God said. They gave him 5 years. Right? She was like, I don't know. And she's like, I don't know how the hell you see these and you hear these things. I told him 2 days before. I said, because most of the time when I hear that, that's God talking to me to relay a message to you. It's like, stay away from there. Like I had dropped my son off. He was driving. I'm like, yo, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. The next day he was leaving. I was like, suavete, slow, slow, slow. He came in yesterday. He's like, Dad, you're going to be mad at me. He's like, I got a speeding ticket. He's like, I don't know how you know this. I'm like, bro, I just told you. I just told you, you know? So I say that to say that it's like, exactly like you said, it's the experiences that move you forward. And I guarantee, just like me, at 18 years old, you wanted to be a millionaire by the time you was 20, then you got to 25 and 30, and you're like, damn, this is, and I kept going for the big things, try to get in the NBA, record deal. Yeah. And I'm like, man, there has to be a better way. I'm not a freak of nature. You know what I'm saying? I'm not 6'10".
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, the music thing was just, I love the music industry. I like the business part of it. The artist part, I'm a street dude. I don't like being on stage in front of 5,000 people. What if one of them got a firearm? What if it's somebody I had a problem with? Mm-hmm. I'm a stay to myself person. Like, I'm not, when I used to walk in the clubs, we used to go all the way in the back against the wall, so I knew nobody was behind me. Yeah. Nobody was behind me. We could only move this way. And I kept eyes on exit strategies. And then they're like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm making sure we get out of here safe. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing, right? So with your during these experiences and everything, how do you talk to your kids about it? I know that's another podcast.
Man, my kids, you know, I think what happens, am I blurry here? I'm going to try to just get the blur off my face there. My kids, I think, you know, we're Gen X. My wife and I had this conversation today. We were going up, checking on a piece of property. We're talking about Gen X and how we get to see the best of both worlds, right? The world that we grew up in absolutely does not exist anymore. Now we're here in this world. But I think because we are the age we are, and with our kids being almost the same age, is, you know, early on, I thought the right way was to give them whatever they wanted, right? They didn't have the life that I had. Like, if I had the money, I just give you the money, make it super easy. And then about halfway through, when they were maybe about 11, I said to my wife, I said, this is going to stop right here and right now. I go, this is it. This is not really what should be happening. I said, if we don't teach these kids some responsibility here, we're going to get, I promise you, I'm going to start pointing at you, telling you that you were enabling him. You're going to start pointing at me, telling me that I was enabling him. You and I are going to buck heads. We're going to wind up divorced, and I don't want to wind up divorced. I said, I love you. I've been with you forever. And I said, let's just get on the same page with how we're going to do things with these kids, because now they're at a point where, you know, and I know they're watching the whole way up. Now they're at a point now where they're a little bit older. We can start to teach them some real stuff. So early on, I would put them in front of the whiteboard. I got a whiteboard right in the kitchen, like literally. And I'd be writing down numbers. And my one son is an early college student. He's looking at it. He's going, is this legal, Dad? I go, yeah, I'm telling you, it's legal. It's legal. The conversation usually starts like this, like, hey, you know, my mom and myself are here to support you in every way possible. But you're going to get the hell out of the house. and you're going to go find something to do, and you're going to go earn some money, and you're going to go get this life experience that you really haven't had yet. And I
Mhm.
keep telling them, I honestly think the best place for kids to get the best experience is in the back of the house in a restaurant, man. I love that place for kids. You're in an environment where you've got all these different mix of people. Things are, you've got one thing to meet after another as these tickets fly in. You got to be able to work around people. You get really good experience in like service business, right?
Different
Hospitality,
attitudes,
different
everything.
attitudes, somebody telling you you're an idiot, somebody telling you they love you. You might find a
Yeah.
girlfriend, you're going to drop some food, you're going to screw something up, you're going to get burned, you're going to get hurt. Like it's all of these things. So I literally love the restaurant industry for young people, like especially
Kids.
in
That
the
makes
back of
sense.
the house.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember when I had that bar, I loved that bar because I didn't have to be me every day.
yeah. Facts.
I could
Yeah,
sit on the other end of that bar. I didn't have to be Mike, and I got to read every single person in that place. And it's
yeah.
because of me being able to read people and the way you came up and the way I came up is because we're a good read makes
Hmm.
us more successful in the industries that we're in because we're
Yeah,
not we're listening to the underlying things.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah,
not listening to
yeah.
the other stuff. We're listening to the real stuff under what's going on in their life. What do they need? What do they want? The whole
Hmm.
nine yards.
Yeah,
So,
it's true. Yeah, that's really
I
true.
mean, I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like my experience there has kind of pushed me where I'm going to. But I mean, with these kids, I got one kid that'll probably follow me, and I got another
Hmm.
kid that's going to go and be me. When I was young.
That's a yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's funny. I tell my kids, I say, listen, this is what I learned. In your 20s, you screw up a lot of damn money. In your 30s, you realize that you screwed up a lot of damn money. And in your 40s is when you really get the shit right. I hope it doesn't take you to get to your 40s when you have a father that's there and you're at teens or your early 20s. You know, our daughter is she's about to get her architecture degree from Kennesaw State. She's gonna be the first one that follows me. My boys say I'm too hard on him and everything and stuff like that. I'm like, because you don't understand when you go out into the real world, the shit you're gonna get smacked in the face with. If you think I'm hard on you, wait till you're working for a boss that you hate and you get in some trouble in the street and it's crazy. I'm like, I'm giving it to you the nice way, right? So that's funny that you say that. So let's talk a little bit of creative finance.
Yeah.
What do you see in the industry right now? The market shifting, why everybody should be looking at creative deals, right? Just give a blueprint of what you see happening in the industry right now.
Yeah, I've been screaming creative finance for the past 6 months, going, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And if you listen to what I mean earlier, I had said, hey, listen, it's about the big money game,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the monetary policy inside this country and where it's kind of headed. We've had 6 interest rate hikes since June.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, if you think of it, if you weren't an investor and you just thought of real estate traditionally and you were looking for a primary piece of real estate, logic would tell you it's too expensive to go buy a piece of real estate, right? Since we are investors and I understand and you understand money in a different way and how it's kind of connected real estate, what it does is it flips the lens around and it shows you all of the opportunity that's in front of you. Now, I'm always looking for opportunity, whether it's in a bad market or a good market. But while the thing that served me well in my life is that when everybody's going one way, I like to go the other way.
Yeah.
And I just think there's so much opportunity coming down the pipeline for creative because there's so many different ways that you could buy a piece of property. And people just don't understand that. When I said all of my mentors are my attorneys and the IRS and all of these people, when you get into the legality of real estate and you realize that, hey, listen, I don't need a broker, I don't need this general contract on a traditional end, and I can understand exactly what the banks do, which is what I teach. I understand like how to look at a piece of property through the eyes of a bank and realize that when somebody's piece of property is completely paid off, that I could structure things for myself, the whole thing opens up. So all creative is going to do is it's going to open up the playing field for people that are in this industry that are in wholesale or they novate a lot of deals. That if your cash deals aren't working or your novation deals aren't working and you want to build long term wealth, the only way to do it is to try to buy it creatively. It's a great way to get into pieces of property too at a very low entry fee. You know,
Yeah.
you could structure things however you want to structure them, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have those different tools in your belt because we do sub. I got a couple right now. I think we got like 16 deals on the board. I got a couple of sub twos, a couple of them are novations. So it's good to one of the sections in my course is basically don't be a one trick pony.
Mhm.
Have multiple exit strategies because with Magneto, I want to become a transactional company. And I'll tell you about something off air that I mentioned to a couple of people in our space, and it's like, that's genius. I want to use that. I was like, I want to become a transactional company. If we get 200 leads a month, 300 leads a month, whether it's 500 or 50,000, I want to make some money off of every one of those leads,
Mhm.
every one of them, right? So that's why we've been implementing more sub twos, mostly pre foreclosures, sub twos, novate, listing a bunch of properties and stuff like that. So it's definitely important right now that individuals look at because I think the entire industry is shifting. But what I will say is in this shift right now, you're gonna wash out a lot of people.
Oh, they're gone already.
Yeah, you washed out, and that leaves the because I was telling somebody I was like, it's crazy how everybody says that it's getting harder. I said December I got 11 contracts. That was the most we got this year. It was 11 in 1 month, and I got those actually in 2 weeks.
Hmm.
It's like 2 weeks. So I'm like, no, the deals are opening up more. You know, you just got to be able to withstand it, and then also too, when wholesalers or investors make a little bit of money, they go start spending that money on dumb shit. I was telling a couple of my mentees, hey, your first check you get for 10 to 20,000, I expect you to take 50% of that money and dump it back into the business. Don't say, hey, I went and bought a Benz or I bought a Rolex. No, 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 no. Dump half of that money back into marketing, understand the industry, because when you start turning these wheels, it's like we said, we know a couple of people that's doing $2 million a month. $2 million a month.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's Jay-Z money. You know, well, not Jay-Z now. His money's way more than
Yeah.
that, but you know,
It's amazing to
definitely.
me. It's amazing to me how many people inside this industry are listening to people who who do not even at least have like 10 years behind them. Like in order for me to
Yeah.
listen to somebody, you better have
Yeah.
10 good years. And we better,
Seasoned.
right? And like we better be able to hold a conversation about your ups and your downs rather than
Hmm.
get into somebody and listen to somebody when times were good. You know, it's like everybody was doing this business.
Everybody's making, yeah.
And now
Everybody's making money.
ultimately the cream rises to the top, which is why I think Cash Money skipped a couple of steps on the way
Facts.
on the way up.
Same, like, and during when we're going through the downturn and everything, I'm gonna be honest. When the whole hedge fund phase was here, I was struggling. I only sold a couple of deals to hedge funds
Mhm.
because number wise, I'm like, this just doesn't make sense for me to waste my time and lock this deal up at this percent, right? And I know I left a lot of money on the table, but I was used to doing it the traditional way, 40 cents on a dollar, 50 cents on a dollar. If they say no, on to the next. So anything I was getting, I could either sell it to an investor because there was a good margin, or I could take it down and sell it because there was a good margin that way.
Mhm.
And then as soon as I turn and say, okay, I'm gonna start trying to do some of the hedge fund, they pull out. They pull out. I had bought 110,000 records, $17,000 just for areas that hedge funds buy in. Never even got to call the list. Never even got to call the list. They stopped buying. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to what I know
Uh-huh.
and becoming a transactional company. You know, so it's extremely important for everybody that's just getting into real estate, especially if your entry point is wholesaling. Learn sub two, learn creative finance, learn novations, and you're going to be able to go through every cycle that comes in and out. you're going to be able to go through it, you know?
Yeah, and you don't have to complicate this thing, right? It doesn't have to be that complicated. Like, I think,
Exactly.
people get into this and they're like, this strategy, that strategy, the other strategy. You're trying to buy a piece of property at the lowest purchase price that you can buy it at.
It's that simple.
Let's start there.
Yeah, exactly. It's super simple. You want to buy it at the cheapest you could get it for.
Yeah, and then if you're buying it creatively, you want to make sure that those payments are the cheapest payments that you're paying every single month, right? And then if you are paying interest, you want to make sure that you're paying the least amount of interest that you're paying every month. So nothing really changes, right? I mean, ultimately, you could lead gen the same way and everything else, and you're always going to lead with cash. So by having all of these different tools in your tool belt to go ahead and deploy when things aren't going your way inside of a conversation with cash or novations or whatever, and you pull out a sub 2 gun and you pull out a seller finance gun, and it's like, nobody else can
pick
really
one.
compete. Pick one. Nobody else can really compete when you're educated on that stuff. So it's super important to be educated, and it doesn't matter. Like, I never worried about up and down markets. I could care less.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew creative, so I'll buy them in all markets.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. It's when you're trying to buy at 40 cents on a dollar, 30 cents on a dollar that gets hard, because homeowners right now, they're still stuck on the high.
Yeah.
Right? They're starting to come down. But I know everybody's saying the market is going to be worse in 2008, 2010. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think it's, see, right, let's talk quickly. I see economics, right? This is what I said happened. You're up in the Hamptons. You got the Wall Street guys. You got the banker guys. You got the hedge fund guys playing with that little ball that they hit on, a little whatever. And there's polo, exactly, polo. And they said, okay, we want to make more money. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with you, feds. You're going to raise the rates, and you're going to stop homeowners from being able to sell their properties because the buyers can't afford it no more. So individuals that have to sell their homes, they're going to start panicking, right? We're going to keep raising the rates. They're going to keep panicking until that $300,000 house is 250, 200, 150, right? And then we're going to come back when the world is in mass hysteria for problems with $100 billion and buy everything at pennies on a dollar, and then we're going to lower the rates back down. That's what they're doing.
You are right on it. Those guys are on the sidelines with piles and piles and piles of cash.
I read something that they said by 2040 that only, I think it was like 40% of houses in America will be owned by an individual. The rest are going to be corporate. You see, JP Morgan Chase said they wanted to become the biggest mortgage landlord. Now just think about this, right? That's why I love creative finance. They're buying multifamily and individual assets. That's what they're doing, right? But this is how they look at it. You buy a house, yeah, it may go up 10%, 20%, but when you look 20 years from now, damn near every house in America, unless you didn't take care of it and you let it run down, they increased. They increased. They went up. What's their typical appreciation per year? It's like 4%, 3%, 4% on homes, right? So the houses are going to keep going up. So they realize, hey, I can have this asset, hold it for 50 years, cash flow for 50 years, right? To me, real estate is the best investment you can invest in. All of a sudden now you're seeing all the crypto guys being AI experts and e-com doing this. I'm like, bro, real estate. Yep. Stick on real estate and stay with it. You know, you can catch that fad when something comes in, something goes, but real estate.
Stick on real estate, put your back against the wall, get comfortable in the process. And while you're trying to get comfortable in the process, get that mind shift from this cash now to, hey, I'm not worried about the money. I know if I do this now and I forget about it, it's going to be, it continues to feed you and your family for the rest of your lives.
Yep.
So like, we just put a 13 unit building under contract. I'll talk to you about that off air. We put a 13 unit building under contract. And my partner's all excited about it. And I'm like, let's go on to the next. I go, these guys are on the sideline. They're going to come in, and it's going to be very difficult for the common folk to go buy real estate. So if we're not moving at the speed of light with this stuff, we're going to be in trouble. So, I mean, the opportunities are absolutely endless, because if there's opportunities for the big dogs, there's opportunities for us. And if you're educated and know how to buy properties a certain way, or a bunch of different ways, you'll be successful like anybody else, right? So
Exactly. So everybody, you're listening. This is my brother right here, Cash Money Mike. I'm gonna give him a few minutes for him to tell you what he got going on. His training, if you didn't take it, I advise you to take it. I would take it 2 times, 3 times. But Mike, tell him a little bit about what you're going on. I know you got 4-hour lives where nobody in the industry is doing that. So tell a little bit about what you got going on.
Yeah, so let's start with free. You can catch me every Sunday on Instagram at Kash Money Mike _. I run a 2 or 3 hour live every single Sunday at 12 noon Eastern time. Then I run like 4 or 5 hour free Zooms that I get 120 people to come on into the room, and I just pour into everybody for that day. If they want a little bit of a higher level than free, they can get into something called the Seller Finance Boardroom, which is a paid. It's $99 a month. It's no money. I mean, I lose $99 a month in my couch cushions with my kids. You can get into that boardroom, and inside that boardroom are a bunch of my students who are looking to help people. It's a really great place. I go in there every other week for like 2 hours a clip, which is really like 4 hours a clip, to kind of pour into them. And then if you want the real deal training to kind of fast track your way, I've got a monthly training that people can get involved in. And if anybody's interested in any of that, they can just shoot me a DM at Kash Money Mike _ Kash Money Mike with a K. Just shoot me a DM. I'll get you all connected.
That's what's up. So everybody that's listening, go follow my man Cash Money Mike. Get into the creative finance. And I'm gonna tell you right now, you want to get this man before his prices go up. Yesterday's price is not today's price, right? Once you perform at Madison Square Garden, it's $1 million a show now. So get it right. Get it right. But I appreciate you, Mike. Like I said, man, I just love you as a person. You're kind, you're giving, you want to see individuals win. And I think that's why we kind of attracted to each other, is because we're all in the same energy, right? We're all trying to get in the same direction and help people.
The Lord put us in each other's paths for a reason. And one of the best days last year, Shamus, was getting on that live and not knowing you. And I just bought a bunch of Yankee hats, and I put that Yankee hat on, and you go New York and I go New York. And from there, the relationship has kind of blossomed. Brother, I love you more than you know, truthfully. I really do. I appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to a long and exciting rest of our lives together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So everybody take the time out to go follow my man Cash Money Mike. Mike, we appreciate you. To everybody listening, many blessings, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate you.